Hello and welcome to the first Reds Report of 2023, powered by the Best of Barnsley and part of the TalkSport network of fans. After a whirlwind finish to 2022, the Reds had a chance to start 23 on a strong footing. Bolton came to town on the second day of the new year, and frankly, Barnsley never got near. Clumsy challenges, a disputed red card, 3 goals against it. Barnsley found it very hard. So to unpick what happens and what we need now, here are 2 people with opinions, and they'll tell you how. The first is a man from the Northwest who writes about the Reds. His blogs are great reading. His vlogs are simply the best. He's a third of our team, a favourite among most. It's Ian from the Tigers blog, and I got a comment this week that he would be the perfect host. What's that all about? Ian, welcome. How are you?
Very well, very poetic.
Yeah, well, we had to do something to try and cheer it up because I know once Steve starts, I'm going to put the number for the Samaritans on. It'll be like that, but I'll put it on the bottom. So, the second person you know, his opinions are great. He takes no prisoners, not even about me, and I'm supposed to be his mate. The performance was shocking, and it made him leave. No guessing who this is. It's a warm welcome to Steve. Steve Andrews, how are we doing?
Modern technology. It's not very good, is it? Anyway, there you go. Toned it down for New Year, as you can tell.
Well, we're only 3 minutes in, mate. I'm sure it'll
plenty of time yet. Plenty of time yet.
Steve, let's start with you. You go so many matches unbeaten. First match, New Year, at home. You could see before the incident with the penalty and everything that Barnsley was struggling, weren't we? There were misplaced passes. The kitchen challenge, I thought, was, oh my God, what are they doing here? Try and explain what it felt like and the atmosphere felt like, because they talk about, the match day experience, but it looked flat on the pitch and it looked flat off the pitch, to be fair.
I can't disagree with you at all in that. Yes, I was very disappointed. The experience of the day was akin to probably going to the dentist or, having my prostate felt. In fact, I'd rather had that done, to be quite honest. It was, as you say, flat on the field. Yes, it's bound to be flat in the stands because you feed off the players, you feed off the play. It was a penalty. There's no dispute about that. It wasn't a sending off. I think the main talking point that I put on Twitter after the game was not about the players, although some of the players for me are just not good enough. But the standard of refereeing at the minute in the AFL is an absolute disgrace. These people turn up on a Saturday for 90 minutes and they're going to be costing people the jobs. They're causing players to get abuse from fans. To me, it needs a big shake-up. It really does, because referees at the minute, they're not worth a tuppenny bit.
We're going to talk about refereeing in a bit. The penalty, I mean, on social media, you heard all sorts. He was fouled before, blah, blah, blah. The point is, when that happens, Mads Anderson makes a challenge or does whatever, you give the referee a decision to make. And that's, I thought when he gave the penalty, that was it. Because he waited 5 or 6 seconds. And I don't know if somebody was asking, was it harsh, the red card, Ian? Or
I thought so. Initially, I was thinking, is it because he's the last man, but Kitchen were coming back? I agree. He's given the referee a decision to make, and to make it potentially make it all about the ref, and he did, and he jumped at it. It was clumsy, but was it a red card after however long? I'd say no. I don't think it was a red card, and then it spoiled the game. Then it killed the game. So yeah, it was. I thought it was a pen. He was all over him. It was stupid. It was really stupid, especially after what had happened. Was it the Fleetwood game? Something similar. Yeah, just a bad day at the office.
That incident, Steve, was a bad day at the office, but that's 3 penalties against us in 3 matches. That tells a little bit of a story as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was clumsy, same as Fleetwood one was clumsy. It basically similar sort of. There were similar sort of penalties. Anderson were just trying to get out of the way. Strikers these days, you've only got to watch them. They're leaving the legs dangling, slightest little touch. You know, on a park on a Sunday morning, it'd have been play on and you know, no note said. But it is giving a referee a decision to make. And again, you're back to common sense decisions and stuff like that. It were a penalty all day long. He caught him. He went down. But is this? You see, I'm going to come back to something now that'll probably annoy you no end. Is this Anderson trying to cover for a colleague that's just not good enough at the back? And obviously, I'm speaking about Cundy. Anderson is a lot quicker, a lot more pace, a lot better player. Is Cundy putting him in these positions where he's having to chase back? He's having to do all this running, which is causing obviously more pressure on Anderson.
It's Ian. I know you're Barnsley through and through, but that's 3 sides from the northwest, 3 penalties against Barnsley. You could sort of, especially the Fleetwood one, you know, it's an awkward one, wasn't it? Do you think that Duff will go and talk about after you give a penalty away against Accrington? It's not great, is it? You then give another way against Fleetwood. Do you think there's mention in training about, listen, that's 2-2? I mean, you know, giving goals away, isn't it? 3-3 must be some sort of record. Is this something we can change, or is this all just we need to look at the referees as well? How can we resolve this from a Barnsley point of view?
I don't think there's a great deal you can do, to be honest, other than sort of say to your defenders, just relax, just calm down. It was all, I mean, the one with the clip against Fleetwood was probably, like I say, part of the striker leaving his foot in, he's going for it. That, like Steve said, modern day footballers, they throw the leg in as opposed to the defender sticking their leg out. But the one against Bolton just looked to me like panic stations, and like Steve said, and we mentioned it on the midterm report last week, Cundy, yeah, he scored that late winner against Fleetwood, but that doesn't still make him, we don't suddenly say, oh, he's a great defender. Every time he's had the ball at his feet, he looks like a startled rabbit. And maybe Steve's got a point that it then made Mads a bit nervous, especially how Bolton came at Barnsley and were running at them. I think you just say to them, just try and, I don't know, I wouldn't overplay it too much, because penalties they're odd things, aren't they? And I would just say, just try and calm down and not be rash. Don't think you've got to be all over that striker.
We mentioned it earlier. Well, Steve mentioned it. You go a man down. You're 1-0 down because you got a penalty as well. What you then look for amongst that group of players, the 10 that are left on the pitch, to try and give that extra 10% to compensate for a very influential player in Mads Anderson. Steve, try and put in words how a defender
Here we go.
Can misplace what was it, 7, 8, 9, whatever yard back pass to the keeper. I mean, is it just one of those things? Because Duff talked in his press conference about that. You know, it's one of those things, but it's probably one of those things. It's not bad if you do that and you win 3-1, but when you're already 1-0 down after however many minutes, you're a man down as well. We don't need these sort of errors. And is this an indication of the type of player maybe Cundy is? When the pressure is on, he maybe buckles before he blooms, if you know what I mean.
Well, first and foremost, there's a risk in any player. Do you know what I mean? Even Messi, Ronaldo, whatever. There's always the possibility of an error. It weren't a back pass. He fell over his feet. He tried turning. He was turning on ball with with attacker at side of him. And I've said it before, it was like an oil tanker coming round. It was like Axon Valdez going round. And I think he just did not have a clue what he was going to do with it. It sort of came off his foot, gave Collins no chance whatsoever, and it's him back at net. Now, that can happen to any player at any game. But we've been saying this for weeks and weeks now. We are now struggling, surprisingly, for quality in centre halves.
Hmm.
Take Anderson and Kitchen out of it now because of injuries. Who's I dread to think who's going to play next game. I hope he's not going to put Moon in.
No, it
because
does. Sorry, Steve. It does seem to feel that since Edwards has come out injured, it's crumbled a little bit at the back, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought Williams weren't very good either on Saturday. He seemed to lose his way quite a bit. But having said that, do you know what? As soon as Anderson went off, the referee might as well have blown whistle then. For me, because they were just huffing and puffing, no quality, and people there again. You know what? I just don't understand how Josh Martin gets anywhere near that pitch. I really don't.
But we'll talk about the other players in a bit. I just want to talk about that moment he went off. As a head coach, you can do a couple of things, can't you? He could have taken Norwood or Carlo and put Jasper Moon on, because that was, I think, the only centre back that was on the bench. But he didn't. He kept things as they were, and probably asked Cadden to come more back, and probably Williams as well. What does that tell you, though, about a head coach? Because it would have been very easy for him to sort of try and park the bus and damage limitation, but we didn't, did we? Especially second half, we did try and go forward. What does that tell you about Michael Duff and what he expects from his team, Ian?
I think it was brave. Like you say, he could have gone damage limitation, because I thought at one point this is going to get embarrassing. He was brave, and he probably believed in his players, and he probably half time got them in and said, it's 2, you nick one back, it could be game on. Fire the crowd up. But
can I just flip this just to introduce just for a second? Could it be that he's just no faith in Moon? Look at it from the other side.
To be fair, me and Carlo said off air, didn't we? We said, what is the point of Moon? Why doesn't he do what he did with Ackroyd and send him out? Because he's not played. So if he comes on for, say, 20 minutes, or he has to come on for 80 minutes, he's got no confidence. He's not played. He's not kicked a ball in anger this season. So what are you doing? What's the point? He's taking up a place on the bench. Put him out somewhere, League Two, wherever, and see if he can do anything, and get him some football. He's no point. He's just gathering dust on the bench, isn't he? What's the point? I don't get that. Because if he's getting a place on the bench, he must think, well, I might need him, I'm going to use him. But he never gets anywhere near it. Send him out, let him get some football.
Is it, Steve, in the light of day, the following day, I said to Ian before we recorded, I sort of looked back and thought, it was horrible, right? It was horrible to watch and everything. But actually, we played for whatever it was, 80 minutes or so with 10 men, and Bolton only really scored one goal that they created. So is there a positive to take from this? Because it could have got embarrassing, couldn't it? But Gundy gave them a goal. They had a penalty. Their final goal, and what a goal it was, they created it all themselves against 10 men. So are we being maybe a bit too somber and too negative?
If there's anybody ever going to be negative, it's always me, isn't it? It always ends up being me. Let's be honest, for the last 4 or 5 games, we have not played well. We've managed to pick points up, and we're lucky to have still been in the position we were going into Saturday. But there's still, you can see it. There seems to be a lack of confidence in certain players. Josh Benson came on, nice to see him back. Again, not a great deal. Herbie Kane ran about. I thought at times he was a bit headless chicken. He was diving in and trying to make challenges, and he was getting nowhere near ball. So is that just a sign of panic? No calmness on field? Because let's face it, Anderson went off, who ended up with captain's armband.
Yeah, Kitchen. And
again, is that not then still maintaining that sort of camaraderie, that motivation on field? I mean, only person I saw actually doing any sort of shouting in a positive manner were Connell.
Yeah.
And again, Connell had a decent game amongst a load of tribe, to be quite honest. But like you say, you don't want to be negative. 10 men against Bolton. But it just goes to show Bolton weren't a very good side.
No.
But Accrington weren't a very good side. Fleetwood weren't a very good side.
Yeah.
We can't just keep making excuses for, well, they weren't a very good side. We were lucky to get away with a point or whatever. We need quality, not just same as what we've got.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Because a mate of mine, a Bolton fan, went on. He went and somebody else said to me they never saw that result coming. Bolton have not been playing well. And I know they were gifted the goals, but they never saw that performance coming. They're like, where's that come from? And you're right. I think I was looking at some of the results. I think last time we played really well was when we won at Peterborough, and then we beat Burton, and then it's kind of dropped off for Christmas. And I was kind of torn between. Initially, I weren't happy with the performance and the result, but then afterwards, I thought, well, it's a funny league, isn't it? You know, Peterborough's just sacked the manager, Portsmouth's just sacked the manager, Bolton are in and out. Some of these teams that you'd expect doing really well, we've just gone 6 or 7 unbeaten, won most of them. Maybe you should just take that on the chin and go, right, well, it's more about how we react now rather than what's gone on against Bolton. And having a post-mortem on Bolton, maybe we should say, well, how do we react? Because we've got a tough January to come. One bad performance doesn't make it horrendous, but it's just going to be one of them seasons and one of them leagues that you're going to get a shocker every now and again. And hopefully you.
But you're back. Do you not think you're back to Ian as well? That if we'd have been we were sat here speaking end of July before the season started, and if we'd all said, you know what, if we're 4th at Christmas, we'd have snapped our hands off.
Yeah.
You can't be that negative as the position we're in. But it just seems to me now that it's slipping, and we need to just stem that now to sort of kick on for the second half of the season.
And I think that is depth of squad, and I think you're right. It's quality over quantity. We've had a couple of injuries, and since those injuries have bitten in that squad just recently, with Edwards going out and those type of injuries, and this is where January is massive for us. It could make or break our season. I think Duff's first season with a new squad, you'd snatch your hands off at playoffs, wouldn't you?
Oh, you mentioned the injuries. Obviously, McCarthy's out for the season, and I mean that's obviously part of that. You know, those centre backs. So let's hope we see more of him next season. Thomas, we all thought, because Thomas was one of the players so far, wasn't he? And then early on, he has a horrible injury. He's due. Well, they're hoping that he's due back sort of end of January, early February. That will be like having a new signing again. However, sometimes those type of injuries can. Sometimes a different player can come back down and maybe a little bit more reserved, but it's something to look forward to. You talked about strength and depth, Ian. Benson, J-Lo, Martin, Lakechi made an appearance. I just want to quickly talk about those 4 because I don't know whether he took, the regular players off to save some legs, because again, I have to say that I don't think any of J-Lo, you can maybe, say, you're 2-0 down, you're 10 men. It's as a striker, it's very hard to come on and try and make a difference. But Benson, all the promise and, Burnley and Premier League and all that. I don't know. I don't think Benson was brought on to bring something different, maybe more for the FA Cup match, saving the legs of players like Kane or whatever. What was the opinion on Benson when he came on, or after he'd been on for a while? What were your thoughts, Ian?
I think Steve summed it up really well with his midterm report. What did he say? Great, shite, something like that. And he is, and he can have spells where he's like, what a player. This lad, should be playing at a higher level. And then the next couple of weeks, he's like Mr. Anonymous. I'm not sure about the subs, really. You can't, like I say with Jello, he's 17 for good, just 17 as well. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's tough coming on as a sub in a game like that, though, as well, isn't it? How are you going to really affect the game?
I tell you what I queried. We've had games where we've been winning 1-0 or 2-0 and he doesn't get a chance. And then when we're losing 2-0 with 10 men, I don't know, as a 17-year-old, if that's the right... maybe it's the school of hard knocks and see what you can do and express yourself. We're losing anyway. I don't know, but I just felt we've had better opportunities to introduce him that we didn't take, and now we're losing. You know what I mean? I don't know. What were your thoughts, Steve?
Well, I suppose if you're going to go into that realm, you're starting to question Mr. Duff's in-game tactics, aren't you? Which obviously I'm not going to be negative about at all, because I quite like living in Barnsley and I've no intention of moving anytime soon. However, I do think we actually mentioned this last week, I think.
Yeah.
And we said why didn't he, or why hadn't he made changes sooner? And it were sort of flip side to that this time, that he made quite a few changes later on, admittedly. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you just question, is he saving legs for FA Cup? If so, well, all right then. But I mean, like Lakesh came on, not for very long. Again, we've not seen much of him. Benson had quite a good run, but again, didn't produce much. J-Lo were on hiding to nothing no matter what he did. Because to be honest, like you say, up front with 10 men, you either chase something down or you get a lucky missed pass or something like that. Otherwise, you're not going to get out at all. I'm not even going to talk about Martin because I'm not going to waste my breath. But it goes, it's through the team, isn't it? We have such little depth. The young under-23s don't seem to be coming through as much now as they were at the beginning of the season. Whether he doesn't fancy them, I don't know. But it, like Ian said, you know what? January, this next 2-3 weeks, we need some bodies. Need good bodies. I'm not going for numbers. I'm going for quality. And this is what we need now.
I know we asked before. Has it changed what we need, Ian? I mean, we talked about centre backs earlier, and we talked about Cundy. Are we looking at two strikers, another centre back, and a right-sided midfielder, or what's on the shopping list, and in what order?
Well, we said, didn't we? Strikers above anything. They needed them in August. We still need them in January. Some cover on the right side behind it, but I think actually now with McCarthy being out all season, Cundy's not stepped up to the plate. Kitchen's always good for a yellow card, maybe a red, or I think we're probably looking at a centre half as well. I think 4. But strikers are way above top of the list. Got to be.
Is there anybody, if the option was there, and I don't know if there is, but is there anybody you'd look at maybe either sending back or sending out, Steve? Either sending back from a loan or sending out
from us?
Yeah.
Well, obvious. Oh, I'd get shook. I'd get shook tomorrow. In fact, I'll take him down. I'll drive my son. Brought nothing to the team at all. Not seen anything from him. So to me, get shook. Let's have somebody fresh in.
And what about these youngsters? We talked.
Well, there's Ackroyd and what other lad who's been out on loan. Since he's come back, he's not. I don't think he's been on bench. Atchison injured? I'm not seeing him. He went on bench.
Yeah, he didn't play. He I don't know why he was omitted against Bolton. I don't know his injury or illness. I've not heard why, but
see, there's lads there they've played beginning at season. Well, one of them played beginning at season. Looked decent, local lad. Personally, I don't think he's a striker. I think he's better off buzzing behind front two. He seems that sort of player to me. But if we are struggling for depth, why are these lads not getting a look in? Are they not good enough? Does he not think they're good enough, or is he just sticking with? I'm not going to say old pal Zach, because I don't think it is that, and I don't think Duff's like that. No. But he's putting people on bench. Is that Undermark injured? Do we know? And just out of interest,
yeah, he's injured. Undermark injured. Tedic is back at City doing rehab. Because obviously we brought him in and he got injured and we've not seen him for months, but he's apparently back at City doing his rehab. Whether he'll come back, I don't know, because that's one of the players I thought would be ideal. I know he's injured, so we can't help it, but again, isn't it? They need match time, don't they? I mean, that brings on. We talked about Norwood. We know the scores that he got. Obviously, scored a couple of games in a row. Is the question to you both? Is Norwood a 90-minute man? Because I just feel like 60 minutes or so, and he does a lot of chasing and pressing, and that's really good. And then can't blame him.
Thing is, though, he does a lot of chasing and a lot of pressing. Connor Chaplin did a lot of chasing and a lot of pressing, and we've still got same outcome from both players, if you want, which is very little. There's no end product. All right, Norwood scored a couple of goals, but half at time is just huffing and puffing. I just don't see any longevity in Norwood at all. To me, if you're bringing somebody in at that age group, you need. If you just bring them in for 6 months up to end of season, there might be 30, 31, 32-year-old. If it's a Premiership striker, pay him his wages for 6 months. Let's have some quality there. And if it works and he gets us up, you're best manager in the world. If it don't work, what have you lost? Nothing.
I suppose the question for the board is about investment. Is the money to invest? We know what we needed in the summer, what we didn't get. My worry is that they'll say 6 in the league. We just won 6 in a row. Do we really need another centre back? I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but we the way we feel about the board, and I know changes have been made, is through a series of inept transfer windows, wrong players being brought in. So they need to show that they mean business, and there is no better possibility, is there? Whether we're overachieving or not, when you're in 6th and you've got a game in hand and a chance to go 4th in the new year, I'm not saying you have to go all out, but surely you then have to bring the reinforcements in to push that along, because other clubs around us, Winder. I mean, Plymouth, have they brought 2 in already? They sit pretty top of the table. I just hope that the board stick to their word and help the head coach, because I can't help but feel that with the right investment, and we don't have to bankrupt ourselves or take huge gambles, but with fine-tuning of the squad, get rid of those players that you're paying that, and we're paying them, but they're not playing. We'll have a look at your youngsters. If they are not good enough yet to join us on the pitch, then send them out and give them that experience. And let's have a bench where you can say, well, he could come on. And I know we've been unlucky with injuries, but somebody said, fantastic starting 11, bench looks weak. And when you have Edwards, when you have McCarthy, when you have Thomas, I mean, over the season, bit by bit by bit, it's. I think it's worrying, and I think this is the T-junction, isn't it, for the board? They either say, well, we're all right. If we finish top 10, that's a brilliant first season. But as fans, you think we're 6, we could be 4th. We should be aiming for either an automatic spot if we can get it, but if not, definitely for the playoffs. And that's my worry about this upcoming window. And I know it's a domino effect, and if we want to play, we have to wait for him to be replaced, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to be refreshing or, watching Sky Sports News on the last day of the transfer window at 5 to 11 to see if we have made a signing or not, because perfect opportunity at the moment, isn't it?
You're a Barnsley fan, though, Carlo.
Well,
it's what we do. It's what we do last day at transfer window. That's what we do.
Somebody just by our actions, they said.
Yeah. Somebody put in the Twitter WhatsApp group, the Twitter chat group that I'm on. Would you have Iseka back? And I just laughed because I thought,
yeah,
because that's another player we've got that's gone out alone. You forget about these players, don't you? Like a change then from the league, FA Cup. How do you approach this, given the injuries and everything we've had? How would you approach this? Do you put your strongest 11 out to try and get through to the next round? I get it, money. Or do you think, a bit thin on the ground, no new players in, maybe a half and half squad, see what we can get, but we need to preserve legs because it's a busy January, isn't it? How would you do it, Ian?
It's a tough one. I thought if you look at the previous 2 rounds, he's played strong sides. And I think he's thinking winnable game against a team who's in our division. fourth round would be great. I think it's too good an opportunity to turn down and just weaken the side completely. I think if anybody's not 100%, he might put them on the bench, and I think that you've got to say that's quite right, given the league games that are coming up. But I think it'll be a fairly strong side. I don't see much change because he's judging off round 1 and round 2. He's played strong sides, and Derby have as well, to be fair. So I think we've got a chance. Fourth round. Why not go for it?
Yeah. Same for you, Steve.
Oh yeah, I'd throw kitchen sink at it, definitely.
What, kitchen and the sink? Not kitchen.
Oh, very good.
It's a difficult January, isn't it? We've got the FA Cup against Derby, and then on the Saturday 14th, you're away at Charlton. Listen, and I know it might be 4 or 4.5 hours or whatever it is, but the travelling does take it out of them more, doesn't it? The week after, you're home to Accrington, and then you've got a midweek Exeter away. I mean, that's a travel half. And then on the Sunday that week, you're at home against Sheffield Wednesday, which for many fans will be, the match and the chance to do the double over our massive South Yorkshire neighbours. So is that congestion going to play havoc as well, maybe with the run that we were on again? Because, the more games, the travelling, injuries, is that a potential danger? Let's put it that way.
Definitely. I can see a bit of a fixture pile up. If we do get through the fourth round, Sheffield Wednesday get through, that game's scuppered. That lands on the fourth round weekend, so that'll have to be shoehorned in somewhere else. They fitted the Exeter away in midweek, which is not ideal. We've got to go Oxford again. That's another one that's been rearranged away. There's only really Accrington at home that looks a decent banker, to be honest. That Charlton away won't be easy. I think we've got Portsmouth away early February after playing them at home in Jan.
You've got Oxford away and Portsmouth away in the same week, Tuesday, Saturday.
And that's why we need, I know we need quality over quantity in January, but we need some bodies in early January as well. There's no point, and I know sometimes the deals are difficult, but other clubs can get deals done on 1st of January, 2nd of January. Why can't we get some bodies in now and get the deals over the line? Because it's all,
And surely, I don't know what type of players they go for, but if you're 6th in League One with a game in hand, potentially could go 4th, that has to be an attractive proposition for maybe a really good League Two player or a Championship player that is not getting maybe the game time that that he wants or deserves or whatever. But I'm not going to ask you for a starting lineup because I think it's very clear who we play, because he's got his almost like starting 11. I will ask you for a prediction for the FA Cup and the first Barnsley goal scorer. We'll start with Steve because he changes his up every week. He likes to mix it up, does Steve? 1-0 Anderson.
Will he be playing or will he be suspended?
I'm thinking, because it was a league game, I wonder if it's the first league game he has to sit out, because if you get booked in the cup, it doesn't affect your league, does it? Is that right? Am I right thinking?
So he'll miss 3 league games then, won't he?
No, one. He just misses one
match, I think.
One match banned because it wasn't foul play or dangerous play or denying a goal scoring opportunity. So he misses one only.
Just goes to show what I know about football then, isn't it? It's going to be one of them, isn't it? It's going to be a battle, because it always is with Derby. I can't see there being much change team-wise, due to the fact that there ain't many other players that we can bring in anyway, unless, there's a miracle happens and we sign somebody tomorrow and they can play. But I would have thought anybody who comes in now will probably be cup-tied. Maybe not, depending on who it is. I see Derby. I'm going to go 1-0, and I'm going to go Devante Cole just to pee you off. No, only 1 goal. He's not going to score 2.
Okay, sorry.
I don't think there's replays, is there? Does it go pens?
Well, I was going to go for a draw. I was going to go for 1-1.
I was going to go 1-1, and then we'll win it on pens. Bizarrely, no, I want to get the first.
But you see us going through. I mean, it could be tighter, could it?
I think it's probably wishful thinking. I don't think we've not played well there for the last couple of visits, have we?
But
We
does
haven't
it take
played
the
well for
pressure
the last
off?
4 or 5 games, so
Yeah,
But does
that
it,
it all goes to it, doesn't it?
yeah.
but does it take the pressure off that this is a cup match, so therefore a bit of a one-off and maybe not as much pressure?
Yeah.
Because when you have,
I think about the way we played at Bolton in the cup, the way we dispatched Crew professionally in the second round. I'd like to think we'll mirror that form, and that run will continue, and we'll do enough to get over the line. But Derby are on a good run of form, and it's not going to be an easy game.
it's not.
So I think it'll be close. I think it'll be close.
You've been listening to the Reds Report. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about a dramatic away win at Derby and a fourth round ticket, or a ticket for the fourth round of the FA Cup. Steve, as always, I know it's painful at times when we have to mention some of these players, but you've done really well. Thank you very much. Ian,
I've not
as always,
I've not swore once. Have you
No,
noticed?
no,
I haven't
no,
swore
no,
once since New
don't-
Year.
don't wait until I
I
press end
shan't.
recording.
I'm not going to fuck it up now.
Ian from the Tykes blog, as always. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Is there? Are you? I know you're busy with work, but when's the next blog coming out? Is there a review for the Derby?
Yes, I've done Rams review podcast. I've answered a few of our questions. I sent them some questions about their lineup, and that'll go out Thursday or Friday, and then I'm going on Sunday to the game. So I'll probably, when I get back, I'll probably do some sort of review of the game as well. So back to normal now after a bit of a break over Christmas.
Well, as always, looking forward to it, to reading it and watching it, because it's blogs and vlogs. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back next week, powered by the best of Barnsley. You have been listening to the Reds Report, part of the TalkSport network of fans.